Welcome to Happy Foot Sad Foot, your LAFC gateway drug and the only LAFC podcast that will put your food poisoning on pause, then make it worse as soon as it's over. I'm Darren Miller. Welcome to our mini preview of LAFC's MLS match versus Atlanta on Wednesday, June 7th at 7:30 p.m. at BMO Stadium. You can watch it on MLS Season Pass on Apple TV+, and we will be live streaming our post-game call-in show on our YouTube channel 10 minutes after the final whistle at youtube.com/@HappyFootSadFoot. Subscribe now, and you can get notified when we go live. If you're watching, you've already noticed it's just me in the studio right now because this is a mini episode of Happy Foot Sad Foot. Between LAFC's packed game schedule and, frankly, my packed vomiting schedule, we didn't have time to put a full episode together for you this week. But don't go away yet because we didn't want to leave anyone hanging. Travis did get a chance to catch up with Atlanta United reporter and host of the Southern Fried Soccer podcast, Doug Roberson, to find out everything we need to know about Atlanta United. And they have a great conversation. I just listened to it myself. So after the trumpet, you'll get to enjoy it too.
He's a writer and beat reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution and the host of Southern Fried Soccer podcast. Please welcome to the show, Doug Roberson. How's it going, Doug?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing all right. You know, we get June gloom out here, so it's when there's clouds in California, we make a big deal about it. First off, tell our listeners about Southern Fried Soccer and also the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
We, I think, are still the largest newspaper in the Southeast. The Southern Fried Soccer podcast is something that we started a few years ago as part of the supplement our coverage of Atlanta United. I'm one of the few beat reporters left that I think travels to almost every game home and away. I won't be in Los Angeles on Wednesday because of the flex scheduling of this game related to the Champions League final. But we will have another person there. But I've covered the franchise since 2014 when it was just kind of a rumor, and have covered it live as a franchise since probably 2015 when Darren Eales was hired as its first president.
I'm going to ask you about the team and stuff like that, but I am curious, like, what is it like to be a beat reporter, one, for Major League Soccer, where, you know, I can't imagine many publications have full-time beat reporters on these teams, and two, like, you know, you hear all these news stories about beat reporters going away. You know, what does it feel like to be a beat reporter right now? That's really interesting.
I'm very grateful for my employer. We're owned by Cox, which is it's not a publicly traded company. So it has more patient/long range vision regarding products, and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution is doing really well. We've been very smart with our use of our e-products and paper digital offerings. And, you know, I'm grateful that I get to travel. It makes the job better. It makes me feel like I have more knowledge of the team and the goings on and things on the field and off the field than I would get if I were just, you know, covering the home games. And that's not to say that others who just cover the home games don't do fantastic jobs, because all the traditional print reporters, Jonathan Tanya-Wall, Stephen Goff, Michelle Kaufman, everybody, I'm forgetting so many people, all do fantastic jobs.
But you are smarter and better than them, is what you're saying.
No, if I were half as smart as Jonathan and Goff and Michelle and Kevin Baxter, I would be writing books, I think, instead of this.
Kevin Baxter is a hot button topic around the LAFC world. We don't have to get into
it. I figured.
You know.
Well, nobody. You'll never find 100% of a market that's happy with the beat reporter.
Yes, I think that means you're doing a good job. I grew up in the Northeast, and there were Knicks beat reporters that I loved, and there were ones that I hated, and there were just camps of people that were in that world.
Yeah.
So, you know, weirdly in my mind, Atlanta United and LAFC are sort of intrinsically linked. I wouldn't call it like a rivalry, but we came into the league around the same time. We've both had these incredible successes right off the bat and had incredibly passionate fan bases. There feels like there's a similarity there. So I want to ask a tough question right off the bat, which is this. Can you guys just let us have this one? We really kind of need a win right now. We're in a low place as a team. Would that be possible?
I watched the Champions League, and that was just a rough couple of games. You know, that first game was, you know, Cherundolo, I think, described it as the worst game LFC's played in a long time.
Yeah.
And it'd be hard to disagree. And then it was, watching last night's game was a little bit like watching the under-20s World Cup quarterfinal loss, it just didn't seem to matter what LAFC did, they weren't going to score. It's just one of those things where you just have to chalk it up to it's just one of those days. You know?
Yeah, it was interesting as a fan because we've been so like, I mean, I moved from the East Coast to LA, and LA sports fans are so spoiled. They expect to win at all times. And LAFC is the first team that I've like passionately begun to follow in LA. And it's weird to watch your team just get flat out beaten. We're not used to it. Like if we get beaten, it's usually we can chalk it up to mistakes or whatever, but it's like,
right.
no, we played for 2 games straight and we couldn't really do anything about it.
Right.
But let's get to Atlanta United. So I know last year was a bit of a disappointment for the team. How's Atlanta doing this year comparatively? Are people feeling good again?
No, to be honest with you, they're not. The one part of the team that people want to see, the attack and the goals, is there. You know, Atlanta United leads Major League Soccer in goals scored. However, it also leads Major League Soccer in goals allowed, which is a really strange thing to watch because it has, you know, a former national team goalkeeper in Brad Guzan and a national team starter at center back and Miles Robinson, and then Brooks Lennon is he's gotten a couple of appearances with the national team. But they leak goals left and right. And a lot of them are just soft goals. It's the New England.
I saw that weird Guzan goal last week. That was wild.
Yeah. And it was the first of 3. The second goal scored by New England was a result of not putting any pressure on the crosser, and then Andrew Gutman on the back post, for some reason, being left to try to defend 2 guys, and he couldn't defend both of them. And then the third goal was in the 93rd minute, again by Carlos Hill, came a guy. It came off a dead ball start, which Atlanta United has all sorts of trouble defending both set pieces and plays in the immediate seconds after set pieces have already been executed. It's a bizarre thing that's been going on since before Pineda got to the franchise. So watch for that on Wednesday.
I like the sound of that. I mean,
yeah, it's the weirdest thing, man. And you'll watch the goals and you think to yourself, okay, that was a one-off. But when it's been happening for 4 years,
yeah,
it's not a one-off anymore. It's something bizarre that I am not smart enough to put my finger on.
It's the water in Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Something
maybe. It's
so
something.
We sort of proudly call ourselves a place that casual and new fans can pick up the league and get into the teams, and we don't expect them to know everything about. 30 teams is a lot of teams to learn 11 players on. Mm-hmm. So for if someone is listening right now that has never seen Atlanta United, who should they be watching out for? What's your style of play? How would you describe the team this season?
Going in order of the questions, the 2 players that I would watch out for if I were LAFC are Thiago Almada. He's an MVP candidate. 7 goals, 8 assists, I think is his totals. Let me double check that real quick. Yeah, 7 goals, 8 assists, and 14 appearances. He's likely going to be sold either in the summer window or the winter window for what will be an MLS record fee.
So you think he's definitely he might be gone middle of the season?
If Atlanta United gets a good offer, I don't know how you say no. And if it's something that Almada wants, I don't see how you say no. He's the first active MLS player to make an appearance for Argentina. Was on the Argentina roster in the World Cup. He only played like 1 or 2 minutes, but still he was on the roster for the World Cup championship team.
And he's the first MLS player to win a World Cup while in Major League Soccer, right? Mm-hmm. That's wild.
Yes. That's crazy. And then the second player is the striker Yorgos Yakimakis, Greek, came over from Celtic. He leads the league in goals per minute. He's even ahead of Bouanga at LAFC. He scored 9 goals in how many minutes? Not a whole lot of minutes here. He's got 9 goals in 7 starts.
Wow.
Which is, and the minutes it's like almost around 600 or something. It's not a lot of minutes. He scores with his head, his left foot, his right foot. He's a little bit like Joseph Martinez in that regard. He can score from anywhere with any part of his body.
And this will be helpful for me because we do post game like live streams after every show. How do you pronounce it?
Yorgos Yakimakis.
Yorgos Yakimakis.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
It's like do y'all have the AT&T commercial about the Gagillionaire?
Yeah.
The old woman and yes, I am Yorgos. That's how I remember to say his first name.
Yorgos. Okay. So
Yorgos
I'm gonna pull myself saying it on this podcast and then use it as a soundboard on
Yeah,
the
I don't
Cubs
blame
game
you.
so I can't fuck it up.
Tiago Almada's name, I still will go really deep Southern on the Southern Fried Soccer podcast and will occasionally say Tiago Almada instead of Tiago, and I don't know why. And it's embarrassing, and I hate when I do it, but I still find myself doing it.
No, it's been it's such a insecurity that I have doing this too, because I'm a very white man trying to to do a good job on an audio medium, so it's a hard thing to do. So then, what style of play and like how do you think you match up against LAFC in that regard?
Well, that's going to be interesting to watch because, okay, Atlanta United style of play, they want to possess the ball. If they lose the ball, they want to counter press and get the ball back within, I think it's 3 seconds. The 3-second rule is what they want to do. Typically, they dominate possession. They'll have more shots, but it's when you get to shots on goal and expected goals is when things start to even up for opponents. Now, Atlanta United on the road this year hasn't been good. They've only got one win, I think, and that came in their very first road game at Charlotte. They've coughed up a few wins by giving up late goals. The team has given up 8 goals in the 89th minute or later across all competitions this season. So they tend to switch off at the end of games. A team like LAFC that can get the ball down the field in a hurry and strike in a hurry is going to cause Atlanta United all sorts of troubles. Now, we don't know which roster LAFC is going to use, having just played for a trophy on Sunday. It could be.
I have a feeling you might get our LAFC 2 roster.
Yeah, it could be a B team, so to speak.
Yeah.
But even then, Atlanta United on the road, it's just they haven't played well. They didn't play well last year. They only got 11 out of a possible 51 points from road games last year, which is awful. And I mean, they're on pace to do better this year, but still not nearly what they'd hoped.
And Atlanta, came into the league and there was a lot of, there was success right away. And the fan, you sold out Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which is insane for an American soccer team. How
they still are, actually.
I was going to say, are the fans just as passionate?
Mm-hmm.
Is it still as packed? That's wild.
Oh, yeah.
Even in seasons that are down, it's still full up.
Yeah, well, you go by announced attendance, which is not actual. Everybody uses announced attendance. Right. So the announced attendance is still in the soccer configuration around 44,000. When they open it up a few times a year in the big configuration, it'll get between 66 and 70,000.
And, just being in Atlanta, does it feel like the team has become part of the fabric of the sports world in the city?
Yeah, I think so. I live in Midtown Atlanta, which is near downtown. For your readers, it's north of downtown.
No one who listens
north
to
of
our
Mercedes-Benz,
knows
south
how to read.
of Buckhead. Oh, now, but it's kind of right in the heart of Atlanta. And if you walk around here, around the mid-rises and the high-rises and the residential areas, I see more Atlanta United gear than I do for the other pro sports teams.
Wow.
For whatever that says. Now, would I say that the Atlanta United is more popular than the Braves? No, not a chance of God's green earth. Would I say they're similar to the Hawks? Possibly. More popular than University of Georgia? No.
Right.
No.
There's something about soccer though that lends itself to like, I don't know if it's tribalism or what, where like people want to feel like they're part of that community and like display the logo more predominantly. It is sort of like college sports in that way where like people are excited to make it part of their personalities. I noticed that here too, like the LAFC hat is very, besides the Dodger hat is probably the merch I see more than anything in LA. Does that mean that LA is more popular than the Lakers? No way.
Yeah.
But like, there's something about soccer that makes people want to present as part of that community.
Yeah, it's this is not an exclusionary statement, but it's a sport for people that don't like other sports. If they just don't feel a sense, then for some reason, soccer kind of draws those people to the sport or to a particular club. And it's I don't know, it's a pretty cool thing, I think.
Yeah. So one final question, I want to wrap it up, and I love asking this question. And you can be honest too. You can be negative. What do you think Atlanta fans think of LAFC and LAFC fans? What's the perception that we give off to other people who follow this game? I
don't know if there's a perception of LAFC fans. I've been to the stadium a couple of times for matches. I think the fans are awesome. The 32-52 there, it's a lot of fun to watch. I don't know the name of the champ, but when they're sliding to the right,
to Jump for LA Football Club.
Yeah, that is a cool thing.
Yeah. In terms of the franchise itself,
I think there is a little bit of jealousy because LAFC has had some consistent success that Atlanta United has not had after the 2019 season. The franchise, Atlanta United, hasn't made the playoffs 2 of the past 3 years. It hasn't won a trophy since 2019. It should have won 3 trophies that year. It was a saved penalty kick, Joseph Martinez saved penalty kick away from hosting MLS Cup, and it would have won that again. It would have won back-to-back. But since then, it hasn't done anything. That doesn't have a playoff win since 2019.
Right.
That's just not good enough.
Yeah. Still better than the Galaxy, though, but that's fine.
That's a whole nother ball of wax.
I'm sad they got rid of that Klein guy. He seemed really smart. So, Doug, remind everyone again where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Doug Roberson. That's DOUGROBERSON AJC. On Facebook, if Facebook is your thing, at Atlanta United News Now. And my employer is the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And I have the Southern Fried Soccer podcast.
Thank you so much for being here. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, yeah, no problem. Thank you for reaching out.
And we're back. So no full episode this week, but with that, I'd consider us still well primed to watch this match with both eyes open, which is something that was difficult to do during the last match. I'll just leave that right there and never speak of it again. Just a reminder, we'll be streaming our post-game call-in show 10 minutes after the final whistle on our YouTube channel at youtube.com/@happyfootsadfoot. There's a link in the show notes. Talk to us in the chat if you want to call in to talk. We'll post a link to join us live on the air. You can join us on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. Our theme music is done by the insane team of James Valentine, Nate Walcott, and Louis Palmer. Along with YouTube, you can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. If you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, follow, rate, review, send to a friend. We're doing this entirely on our own dime. Any new listeners go a long way. Can't wait to see you again. Thank you for listening. We'll see you at BMO, baby. I love you. Bye. Goodbye. I love you. See you. Bye. Goodbye. Good to see you. Bye. Love you. Bye.